This year, 2025, marks 100 years since the birth of our founder, Gerald Durrell, the great communicator and conservationist who pioneered the role of zoos in saving species from extinction.
Mr. Durrell, this week is the 7th birthday of the Jersey Zoo. Now, when you came to the island 7 years ago, did you envisage that the zoo would turn out like it is today?
Oh yes, you mean as big as it is today?
Yes.
Oh, definitely, yes, as big as this, and in fact I hope to make it bigger eventually.
My name, by the way, is Gerald Durrell, and if I have one passion in life, it's saving rare creatures from extinction.
Gerald, what was your intention then, your ambition, all those years ago?
Well, I think it was that I knew that zoos were very important, but that although some of them were dealing with conservation, it was in a rather sort of vague sort of way. And so I thought it would be a good idea to set up a zoo which dealt entirely with conservation and nothing else, because I think zoos are vitally important, both for education, recreation and everything else.
Well, looking at the thing on a wider scale, why do you think this whole operation is, generally speaking, necessary? What significance has it? Why do you want to breed species in the way you do?
Well, first of all, because we're trying to prevent them from being exterminated totally, which would be a terrible thing. Secondly, because zoos all over the world in the past haven't concentrated very much on breeding, and they've been content to say to themselves, well, if that dies, we can get another one in the wilds. Well, now that they're getting so rare in the wilds, we just simply can't do that, and so it's very important that zoos concentrate much more on breeding than they have done in the past.
This gosling represents something of a success too, doesn't it?
Oh, tremendous, yes. It's the Stereopsis or Cape Barren goose. He was born on Thursday, actually, and he's still covered with his baby down. It's the third rarest goose in the world, and so it's very important that it should be bred in captivity to preserve it. And this is our first hatching, and so we're very proud of it.
One of the island's oldest manor houses is now the home of my Jersey Wildlife Preservation Trust. I began writing books on animals to help pay off the mortgage on the manor house and the growing list of creditors. Now I've written over 30 books, which have been translated into 24 languages.
The book is a sort of a sequel or a sort of continuation of a book I wrote called My Family and Other Animals, and it's going to be called Birds, Beasts and Relatives. And I hope that it'll bring us a lot of new membership for the Trust, because in all my books now we put a pamphlet in describing the work of the Trust, and we've got a hell of a lot of members through that method. We've got now just over 2,000 members all over the world.
Mr. Durrell, this is the first expedition for 2 years, and you're going a long way to Mexico. What is the object in this one?
Well, our principal sort of main objective are two species of creature which are very rare. One is the volcano rabbit, which is found on Popocatépetl and other volcanoes around there. And the other is the horned guam, which is a bird, a sort of black and white bird about the size of a turkey with a great scarlet crest. Now, both of these creatures are in grave danger of extinction, and so we want to try and bring a small breeding colony of each back and establish them here in the Trust headquarters.
There's one thing in particular I really wanted to do: return to Round Island, a few miles north of Mauritius. Round Island is, of course, an extinct volcano, and it sort of lies on the sea, rather like a tortoiseshell. And at one time it was wooded right up to the peaks here with hardwoods, palms, and beautiful vegetation, some of it endemic to the island. And then man came and did to it what he is busy doing now to all the rest of the world. By that I mean he comes in and he plunders.
Straight after that incident in the book, you set about catching the pink pigeons. That, I gather, was quite difficult.
Very difficult indeed. I mean, first of all, there are only just over 30 of them left in the world. Secondly, they live in this extremely damp and dreary cryptomeria forest, which is a huge tree that is not unlike a pine tree to look at. So what we had to do was to wait until they went to sleep. You went into the valley in the evening and you spotted where they were going to roost, and then you kept a watch on the tree to make sure they didn't shift. And then as soon as it got dark, you put a searchlight on them, and then you climbed up the tree and tried to catch them. You see, when an animal species gets down to, say, 10 or 20, as in the case of the pink pigeon, for example, in the wild state, it needs some sort of help, and the only help you can give it is to bring it into captivity and guard it against disease, give it proper food and everything else. Then when you've built its numbers up, you can start releasing them back into the wild, as we are now doing with the pink pigeon.
There were fewer than 20 birds left. We've now bred more than 200 and have released some of them back into the wild. Kirsty, who's one of the Trust's permanent team in Mauritius, had delayed the release of a pink pigeon so that we could watch it. Even pigeons are vulnerable to man's activities.
Was this the first zoo to be exclusively dedicated to that cause?
Yes, yes.
That's quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yes, I'm rather proud of that.
I think you should be.
Jerry and his lasting legacy will be celebrated all over the world this year, and we hope you'll be able to join in the festivities.